Captain's Log, subdate 20.03.30.3. After running a test on the newly installed phaser banks, I came to realize that the power cells had been replaced with Haribo. I get the feeling this is going to make for rather difficult combat situations. My only hope is that the marine life enjoy gummy bears. Before we start, I want to complain about something momentarily. Many have posited that because of the current state of affairs that perhaps YouTubers would benefit from the lockdown, people turning to YouTube because TV is rubbish. Spoken as somebody who is now full-time on this, I can safely tell you no, that's not the case, as all of last week's videos were demonetized until this morning, meaning that of the 55,000 views I got, I made $3, which might be an all-time personal best. Yes, YouTube looking out for its creators as always. Hell, one of them was just about elephants drinking. That was the last one to get monetized. Right. Glad to see your automated system is filling in quite nicely for the people who could have been sat at home reviewing content for us. Like we totally believed they existed in the first place. Moving on from that, there's a new video on Moisky Live and I'm streaming Euro Truck Simulator 2 on Omegon Plays. I might change that to Moisky Plays later tonight. Both linked down below. Now today I want to talk about the effect of the Cronenberg virus, what it's actually doing to some of the major manufacturers and what this could lead on to. Because one of the biggest concerns may well in fact come to fruition. A genuine concern that we may well repeat history, something that would scare most people, and I think it should. Just think, all those boomers we've had to put up with recently, with their boomer mentality, how dare they boomer their way around the internet and society? If only there was a boomer gulag for them all. Well, we may well have our own boomers soon enough. A new age boomer. Because one of the biggest condom companies in the world only has enough for the next 2 months. They make 1 in 5 condoms worldwide called Carex BHD, with global supplies falling as much as 50%. One does have to worry what people are going to do when that runs out. Shower caps in plastic bags and, of course, test tubes are going to be the top of the agenda as alternatives for those who have access to any of those total legitness options. Now, Carex are based in Malaysia and only restarted its factories on Friday after a week-long closure, and only currently work with half its workforce to comply with a lockdown that Malaysia has imposed to contain the spread of the Cronenberg virus, with the company saying that most of the condoms are made in China and India, which are both heavily impacted by this problem. Not to put too much of a dampener on it at the moment, but I can imagine anything that says made in China on it might be considered less popular than it ordinarily might be. I can't imagine why. And with the rumoured protests happening in Wuhan because of that lockdown, yeah, China. Now, demand for condoms is in fact growing at double digits, as governments around the world have issued stay-at-home notices, with many outwardly saying that they are abstaining from having children due to the uncertain future. So of course what they want to do is bang without consequence. I'm sure there's no other option really. I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head. Do I need a sarcasm sign for that? No. Good to know. Now, the company produces for Durex, so that might help you understand how they're one of the most popular, since everyone's heard of Durex, as well as having its own specialty condom, such as the durian-flavoured one, with it churning out more than 5 billion a year and exporting them to 140 countries. This has understandably become more challenging as governments have shut borders and airlines. Oh dear, how will people have safe sex without their precious rubber-flavoured johnnies? Oh no, the poor world. Understandably, because of supply and demand, this will have an adverse effect and of course test the resolve of those who don't want to have kids or can, just not hold it in anymore, because masturbation's out of the equation entirely, much like oral, of course. And that is that condoms would get more expensive, because the workers are still getting paid full salaries, but the workers who produce these only come in half the time. So there will be a cost increase. Therefore, the cost will hit the customers, and in turn hit their genitals. F, I guess? Moving on from that, because there's another Cronenberg-related subject I want to address, but something closer to home for me. The police in Derbyshire were called out because some grass decided, in the right way possible, so perhaps not a grass, but still a grass, I'll let you decide, decided to call the police because, at an address in Normanton in Derby, the police found a gathering of 25 adults and children, which is a direct flouting of these rules to protect the people, protect the NHS, reduce the risk of spreading an infection, because they were having a karaoke party. And of course, as we all know, karaoke is a famous British pastime, a tradition that we should all get the bunting out for and be okay with, because, yeah, right. Can you imagine in a mid-terrace property in Normanton, people were able to enforce a 2-metre gap between themselves and everyone else at a karaoke party? Based on this picture, we can safely assume that's not what happened at all. Quality of living at an all-time high, and the oven behind is a damning statement for someone who doesn't clean their home. You should be ashamed of yourselves. To me, this shows people have a complete disregard for the government's advice, which comes from the scientists and, of course, the rules. This is dangerous, and you need to start taking this seriously. I've had a number of discussions with people who are trying to understand or try and fathom how this can impact UK life and the risk to life and what we could do and whether we should or could or can go back to work sooner. The answer is no. Many of whom I've had this discussion with don't seem to understand why the Cronenberg virus is as serious as it is, why we have taken this as seriously as we have, why it is inevitable austerity is going to continue when this is over. This discovery, this party, can be added to the list of more people who are still flouting the rules. Boris Johnson himself conceded it is likely stricter rules are going to have to come into effect because people are still not listening. The infection rate rises and rose quite a lot over the weekend, and people don't seem to grasp just how dangerous this virus is, which is astonishing and arrogant. A lot of them are younger people who think they're indestructible. There are some people who are older who will say, yes, it's a virus, but all viruses will kill somebody. Say that publicly. I dare you. It's not going to end well. That's not aimed at one person. That's things I've heard others say, many people say, in fact. In fact, I believe I covered it when Vanessa Hudgens said it in my last exhibition of stupid people. If the government has to introduce stricter rules, expect to see military on the street. Expect to see more police officers on the street. Enforcing this and possibly revoking people's right and ability to go for so much as a daily exercise. The police are currently under fire for using drone footage to shame people who are travelling into the Peak District to walk in the hills. At the same time, the police have in fact busted people who are having massive group gatherings in the Peak District with kebabs. The force's measures also to prevent gatherings included dyeing a blue lagoon in Buxton black to deter visitors, which is an absolute shame. People so desperate for one of those profound images. Ooh, look at the beautiful landscape while I look to the side looking all profound. That's pretty much just the word. It's actually pathetic. How about you stop looking to take selfies looking cool in some place and instead think about everyone around you and the risk you're taking? There are those that are dubbed essential actually working. There are those like myself who are not essential, so we move our work somewhere else. Like YouTube! Hello. Anyway, with this and with the first story about the importance of the condom, I would very much like to know what you think. So please do let me know in the comments down below. If I don't see you tonight on a Megon Plays, I hope you'll have a fantastic 7, 8, 9, whatever day of quarantine it is, and thank you all for listening.